Coming in, just stay muted.
Good.
Only miles away from the Finger Lakes, the streets of Schuyler County come alive once again for a 45-lap feature in the heart of the Empire State. This is Watkins Glen International, and this is the Champ Car Grand Prix of Seneca Lake, bringing the Champ Car World Series back for the second race of 2024. Great to have you all watching live exclusively on ABN as we got things going last week with a fantastic race in Chicagoland. I'm David Kreutz alongside Olivia Hayward and Taylor Mills for tonight's coverage of Watkins Glen, our first road course of the season. And I'll tell you this much, as a New York native, this might be one of the most exciting races for me personally all season long. We kicked off the year with a fantastic finish. It came down to thousandths of a second of the line in Joliet. However, now as we take a trip back to the Northeast, we've got ourselves twists and turns, quite literally speaking. 4 minutes remain on the practice charts right now, and it's Lily Fraser at the top of the board with a 55.478. As it stands, over 25 drivers have taken at least one lap so far, with more still arriving on the track as we speak. We're looking right now at DJ Trout in the number 93, so we're going to have all that info presented to you as the race progresses here. Now, of course, we're coming back from a fantastic race, but it's not really representative of what we will see here today. Left-hand turns, right-hand turns, elevation changes, and they're going to be major as well, and the strategy completely different. There will be no full course yellow flags unless there's an absolute emergency, so a majority of these drivers will have to get used to that long run and the alternate sets of tires which are available here on road courses. Olivia, as we kick things off tonight, what do you expect to see from drivers as we see our final laps before open qualifying?
I expect to see one hell of a show tonight. I mean, this is the greatest race course in America, maybe in the world. And I'm not even from New York, so I'm not biased on that one. But more importantly, 28 cars registered for the race, a full field now as we head into the dying minutes of practice, head towards qualifying. And yeah, strategy's been very interesting. The field's very tight, actually. This road course is one where it's quite easy to hold onto the pace, so it's going to be quite a big plus to, and playing the strategy game just right is going to be very crucial indeed. Taylor, how do you find in New York?
New York, a lot sunnier than it would be over in the UK at the moment, Olivia. What a race we came off the back of last week, though. Very much hoping for the same excitement this week. Fantastic battle at the front between Christina, Emily, and Bryce last time out. In fact, it wasn't the only close finish down the field. I want to highlight a 1/10 of a second gap between Carmen and Houston last race, and another 3/10 between DJ Trout and Mark Parkhurst. A little bit different style of track this week, so perhaps we won't get as many close finishes, thanks a lot to dirty air and how much more downforce we've got bolted on these cars this week. However, there's a lot of flat out sections, lots of opportunity for draft, and lots of opportunities to use that push to pass that we've got here tonight, David.
And you know, that's a good point to mention. Different racing, but it's still going to be quick. We're looking right now, Christina Ryan, of course, won our first race of the year just a few days prior in Chicagoland. A lot of times drivers refer to Watkins Glen as a sort of super speedway of road course racing. We're not using the extended circuit, including the boot. We are using the bus stop, but overall it's a very fast and flowing circuit, not too complex when it comes to its layout, and it's about the same length as a track like Daytona International Speedway, coming in at under 2.5 miles, only just though. It's a very quick circuit, and you'll see drivers are not necessarily challenged by the specific organization of the turns, shall we say. But it all comes down to the intricacies of how you become the fastest driver. Everyone's really close in terms of timing right now. Matter of fact, we'll show that on your screens in the bottom ticker. Most drivers are within 2 seconds. Only a few drivers are exceptions right now, and Joshua Garrison is not yet taken to the track, so he does not have a time. For the most of these guys, they're all very close to each other in terms of time and in speed, and we're expecting to see that as the race goes on, especially since the slipstream will be applicable. I think that's going to be a very important factor, not only in this practice session, but more importantly, in qualifying, which is up next. We will not have push to pass available. However, you'll have other drivers around you on the same track at the same time, which means you can use them to your advantage Hopefully you don't get caught up in any trouble, and it's going to add another variable to this race, which I think will make it all the more exciting by the time of our feature, which is just a few minutes away. 20 as a matter of fact. Practice is concluding this time by Lily Fraser as the fastest driver on the board with 55.478, the quickest time right now by just under half a second. Fraser quickest as practice concludes, and now it's time to move on to your qualifying session. Another difference, the first open qualifying of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very interesting format here. So, a 20-minute session, open qualifying, everyone out on track at the same time. The key thing here, there is no specific qualifying setup. When you leave the pit lane, you will leave with a full tank of about 14 gallons of racing fuel, and it is your job over the 20 minutes to keep your car in one piece, not force a reset, so you can burn off that fuel, lighten up the car, then come in for fresh tyres at the end, and set an absolute heater as the dying minutes come down. Should be a very fun duel indeed. We see cars already firing out of the pit lane. You see, is that Selena Thompson, who was 4th fastest in our charts, coming through the bus stop now on her outlap. Selena, along with Lily Fraser, very strong push-to-pass usage in practice session, but that's not allowed here. Gonna have to make it up on raw pace and maybe a little bit of slipstream.
Now, Selena looks to be the first driver out as it stands, so the question is, how will drivers use that slipstream? As we look further back, and you're looking now at other drivers, not to mention, of course, Selena Thompson, first off. Then we'll see Bryce Saucier. We're also going to see Craig Forsyth. Now these drivers get on the way, and for the most part, they seem to be, for the most part at least, separated by wider distances. Now, that's going to change itself as the qualifying session goes on. More drivers are going to be taken to the track. Now, this brings, of course, the question in mind. How will these drivers who are coming on later deal with the changes? We're looking right now at Lily Pelletier-Sharp, who's going to be taken to the track for the first time for her first lap at the line. Looks to have a bit of a blink out there. And many other drivers getting on their way, some closer than others. And when it comes to that slipstream, I think it's an advantage here. Taylor, when it comes to the slipstream, do you think it's best to be closer right now, or maybe take a step back and get to grips with your car first?
At this stage of the session, David, I don't think any of these guys are going to be looking at getting absolute heaters down. As Olivia mentioned, it's going to be all about getting all that race fuel burnt off. Get yourself down to about 20 or so litres. Maybe bolt on a set of alternates if that's what you want to do, and then try and get those lap times in. There's literally no point in taking in that slipstream, getting in that dirty air. It's not really going to push your times up the board at this stage of qualifying. It's a bit of a waiting game we're going to be playing here, though. 17 minutes left in the session. As the first lap times come in, Craig Forsyth at the top at the moment with a 56.9, and a Bobby Bowers follows up shortly after with that 57.5. Not as fast as we're going to be expecting times to go down to today. I'm feeling we're going to be somewhere around the 55s, maybe the high 54s. But that's all going to depend on track temp, and also going to depend on tyre choice, which is going to be a massive factor come the early stages of the race today.
Now we're looking at that telemetry. You keep in mind that Craig Forsyth now going to be 5th on the board. Previous race winner at the Glen, Eli Sasek, now goes to the top of the charts, with Nicholas Pressey due to follow that in 2nd, and Mo Perry there in 3rd. So Craig Forsyth, as it stands, finds himself in the 5th position. And of the many drivers that have gone through, we're seeing some more take to the track for a 2nd lap. Selena Thompson is now going to find the number 63 team in the 10th position, and more drivers are getting to grips with it right now in terms of that longer run. We have a full fuel load in terms of the race condition for these drivers to use in qualifying, and that lower fuel load means an awful lot when it comes to getting yourself ready for the faster laps as this progresses. So that's another thing I'd like to mention here, and I think Olivia can elaborate further. How important is it to burn off that fuel early to set yourself up with the hot laps in perhaps the final 5 minutes of the session?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say at a track of this length, fuel maybe to be between half a second and a second. I think if this was me, I'd be out right now on a set of primary tyres, just trying to burn off as much as possible. Was Thompson very close to the wall there? I think maybe just got away with it. But yeah, going out in primes means you can just keep setting laps. The alternates burn off very quickly, so you'd have to come in the pit lane time after time, take new tyres. I think it's better right now to just keep running laps, get a decent primary time on the board, and then decide when you come down pit lane in the second half of the session whether you want to go to the alternates, because you'll have to start on those tyres, and that could be a disadvantage later in the race. Or if you want to stick to the primaries and give up a little bit of ultimate lap time for that strategy advantage going into the race session.
Now we're already seeing those strategies come into play. Eli Sasek still going to be top of the board as he comes across the line again. 56.295, the fastest time so far in qualifying. And it looks like right now a total of 18 drivers have taken at least one lap across the circuit here in Watkins Glen. Now when it comes to this number 9 team, previously winners at Watkins Glen definitely have the experience to get it done once more. We also see some drivers climbing up the charts more so that we have not seen. Morpheus Perry's going to find himself now in third. For Mo Perry, looking to get back on the track right now, exiting pit road. Some drivers who are rookies here who look to be competitive. Not only Mo Perry, but also Rudy Valentine. Matter of fact, Rudy actually has victories, or rather one victory under his belt. 3 starts so far in Champ Car competition, but Valentine's set to prove that there's a little bit more in the tank for perhaps a crooked number in that win category. Coming across the first turn, the 90 here, the 90-degree first turn here to Glen. Iconic with major elevation dropping. You saw how Rudy was just about 175 miles an hour right before he got into the turn, and now goes through the S's, the sweeping corners here. You do not let off the gas, and in race conditions, you have the opportunity to use your push to pass best in that portion of the circuit. It's nearly 20 seconds of full send, full throttle action, and then you bring yourself back down to that bus stop, and that's when you bring yourself through the more technical part of the circuit, if you can even call it that. It's very much a flowing track where accelerating that momentum is what matters. I think a lot of drivers just have to figure out how to make the braking points work, and that optimization is going to be all the difference.
A little bit of traffic on track here for Eli Sasek, coming up through the S's for another lap. Not going to be optimal for him in terms of getting a good lap time in here, but as we discussed, this isn't the stage in the session when we're going to be seeing those hot lap times. Just following him as well, he is just out of the pit lane actually. He's bolted on a fresh set of the alternate tyres, probably because his last set burnt out a little bit. I don't expect him to have taken on any fuel. So we're just going to be able to see how fast he goes here, because he's going to have those alts at temperature by now. Coming through the second to last corner, and looking at getting hard on the brakes for the final corner. Clip that inside curb, take it out towards the wall to start another flying lap for Eli Sasek here at the Glen.
And coming across the stripe, Sasek, who's already fastest on the board, still leading the charts by just over 1/10 of a second. One driver to keep in mind is the one who's just ahead of Sasek here in Joshua Garrison, and it's quite the opposite circumstance, because Garrison right now is, according to the timing and scoring, 22nd on the board. Just moved up as final driver to take time to this point, and right now going to be used for some slipstream here as Sasek goes down to the inside line, going to make the move into the bus stop and send it deep. That level of confidence in the bus stop is the difference between a fast lap like Sasek or the Dragon Force machine having some bit of trouble and bobbling through the grass. Now we mentioned that the racing line here at Watkins Glen all but requires you to have your entire Champ Car on that curb. You've really got to lean into it here, and with these nimble machines, the more you can get out of it, the better, because that's distance you cut, and it can keep that momentum going even through one of the more intricate portions of the whole track. Right now, Garrison's still coming to terms with his number 23 machine in terms of position. He's 23rd, but now the 4th machine is in a purple sandwich. You're going to go wide and let these two drivers go through. Alex Martin now going to be chasing Lilac Zaire, and you can see now it's going to be drivers who have that more so experience in practice and qualifying. They're starting to lay claim to the territory on track more than anyone else. Laps matter here. The seat time is definitely going to help out as this progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. Lilac Zaire here on the primary compound has had very good performances over the past couple of days in HTL competition. 4th in the Cup Series on Monday, 2nd in the Truck Series yesterday. Obviously, the machines are very different, but we've seen consistency from Lilac. I think that's why she's out on the primary tyres here, just looking to get her eye on a different kind of car, set consistent laps. And one other driver I'd like to bring attention to, Nicholas Pressy. This is his home track. He's never managed to get a win here, and obviously led the most laps of the race last week before an unfortunate mistake on pit entry dropped him down to 5th by the end of the session. Nicholas Pressy currently P2 on the charts on the primary tyre. So if he can keep that going into the race session, he is going to have a monumental strategy advantage. We can talk about that later, but if you can start on the primary tire, it puts you in a very strong position going through the opening stint and onto the rest of the race.
Now, one thing to mention is the teamwork, of course. I think Nicholas Pressey, the most important element of that is he's running in second. Nicholas Pressey, E-Motorsports, once again, top 5 in the qualifying charts for now. And that's going to be second and fifth. So they have control up in front once again. And that primary tire, it's a big deal because here in the qualifying session, if you can start on primaries and keep those alternates for later, the majority of your race, the remainder of which will be a little bit easier as the race goes on. In essence, let's break down the two compounds for viewers who don't quite understand. In open wheel racing, multiple compounds generally exist to provide variety and strategy. Tonight, there is a mandatory compound swap no matter what. The primary tires aren't as grippy at their peak optimum temperature. However, they are, technically speaking, supposed to last longer and wear at a less extreme rate. However, when we come to those red-laced alternates, and we're going to try to get a frame right now, one driver who's using them, I think we'll go look at Eli Sasek. That's a perfect example. All red right now, right beside, of course, the wheel well. That's going to be the alternate compound. At the optimum temperature, these are the tires that run the best, have the most grip, and give the most raw speed. However, when it comes down to mismanagement, if you burn them up a little too much, it's going to cost you as the race goes on. So you want to have these in your back pocket. If you lose these early and you have to go in for primaries, it's going to be a major disadvantage as the race progresses. And I feel like these drivers who are on primaries are looking toward the long term, looking toward the future instead, and trying to make sure they can rely on themselves if there's nobody really proper to go around with a slipstream.
9 minutes to go in the qualifying session for the Glen this afternoon. And now I think we're going to start seeing those lap times coming in. I expect everyone out on track at the moment to be on their qualifying tyre, or at least their qualifying compound, as the fuel burn by now is all done, and we're looking at some super light champ cars flying around this 2-mile circuit. Eli Sasek, it now dropped to second place. Christina Ryan has blown everyone out, not quite out the water. She had a 55.8. Maybe another lap to burn off some fuel with a 56.2, but Christina Ryan currently topping the standings with that 55.8. That's some absolutely fantastic pace, and I'm only expecting it to get quicker here. The alternates, of course, not lasting as long as the primaries, as we discussed. You can only get about 3 or 4 laps out of them before they start to drop off in terms of pace. Perhaps that's going to come into strategy later. If you can take the alternates off the start of the race, obviously you're only going to burn a few laps of fuel. So perhaps it's worth taking the alternates, burning off a few laps of fuel, and taking a nice short stop for the start of your second stint, David.
And Christina Ryan looking to go for the double here. So there's a lot on the line for this number 80 team as we're looking once again. Ryan in a photo finish last week, able to get it done at Chicagoland. It'll be, of course, a huge accomplishment to go 2 for 2 with such different racing styles. But that all depends on whether or not someone else has a quick lap in their back pocket. I think we're looking at drivers up at the top of the board so far. Someone like Eli Sasek, maybe Craig Forsyth or Selena Thompson, Nicholas Pressey. Those drivers who are right there on the cusp. These final few laps, you're lowering the amount of fuel you've got inside your champ car here, and that weight difference, it might not seem all too major in terms of how the viewers perceive it, but when you have that lower fuel load, it's a lot more of agility that's sort of given back to you as the run goes on. And if you have the proper amount of heat in your tire, that can translate to several tenths in terms of increase in speed. So that's something we got to keep an eye on here. The fastest practice time was a 55.478. Now keep in mind that could have been one of the glory laps with push to pass, and right now we're seeing 55.8 is the fastest in qualifying. We might see some drivers slowly approach the fastest time so far in the session. As we see now, we're getting into the most important portion. Drivers are going all out and setting themselves up for the lap that will get them to the top of the board, or at the very least, try to get them there. We're going to put on the bottom of your screen, once again, intervals to your pole sitter. Right now, everyone who has taken the time is within 5 seconds, and it looks like when it comes to those who are inside of the top 10, everyone is within 1 second flat.
Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to get into the 55s here. Depending on how the track progresses, current track temp is 38 Celsius, around about 102, 103 Fahrenheit. if the track temp stays that cool, as Lilac Zir has a big moment coming through the final corner there, is she going to be able to get back to pit lane? Yes, she is. If she has damage, she'll be able to get the car fitted up in there. You are not allowed to tow and continue a lap in the session. If you have to tow, you are considered done for your qualifying. Lilac able to get back in. But yeah, the quite low temps relatively for the temperatures in New York here. And as the fuel starts about, I think we could go into the mid 55s. Pole time maybe sort of in the 55.4, 55.3 range, depending on how people can find a little bit of tow, a little bit of a slipstream, especially coming out of turn 1 and up through the S's.
Watching one driver go up through the S's this time by Nicholas Pressey, of course, New Yorker, so it's going to be one of our hometown heroes to keep an eye out for. We do have drivers, of course, a lot of them based in the U.S., but New York, not as many. Pressey knows this is a very important run, of course, for his personal stakes, wanting to get it done here in the Empire State. As we come through this time by Nicholas Pressey, still going to be 6th on the board in the next few laps. We are going to foresee perhaps 1 or 2 more flyers coming through this time by, as we can see, Pressey coming across and under the Go Bowling Bridge, coming in to pit road, and it looks like it's going to be Nicholas Pressey going in perhaps for the final time before all is said and done. Christina Ryan coming back on the way. This time by, it's going to be number 80 going through the bus stop and setting up for what should be the flyer of all flyers here. Ryan got on the move just moments ago and is setting up for a final hot lap, perhaps before the session ends. 3 minutes and 50 seconds this time by. Ryan is going to go through, and we're going to ride on board for this lap and see how it goes inside the cockpit of our most recent race winner, Christina Ryan, coming through this time by right toward the front straightaway.
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming down to turn 1, you want to hit the brakes at the 200 meter board here. Slam on the brakes down to 2nd gear, just ride that first layer of the curb, the track all the way out here. You can use all that curb, so keep 2 tyres on, it's valid. All the way up here, so this is easy flat. Want to minimise your wheel movement to carry speed as good as possible. Unfortunately, no draft Christina here. As she comes up to the bus stop, it's going to be about the 200 meter board, not even the brake, just lift off the throttle down to 4th gear, try and get right to the Armco. There's a bump in the middle of the car, you want to avoid that. Now, into the carousel. Maybe a drop to 3rd gear to get the car rotated, but again, no brake pedal used. And then we hit the run down, the short shoot, down to turn 6 here, a little bit of slipstream now. Again, just a lift off, a downshift, you throw it into this corner. You want to keep it just within, then down to maybe 3rd gear, hit the brake pedal a 2nd time, avoid the wall on the outside, and that is a lap of the frantic Watkins Glen Cup layout. You hit the brakes twice. It's incredible.
At the line there, looks like that was a 56.127, so still maybe a little bit left in the tank. Craig Forsyth, top of the board. Christina Ryan now going to be in 2nd. Very solid run so far for Ryan in this session. However, still time to improve if there's anything left in the tank. Gonna see a few more machines right in front of Ryan's path. That's going to be Cade McKee, and right behind, it looks like now Nicholas Pressey's gonna face some pressure. Nearly going through the grass there. That's how close you have to be. You saw how the right side of that number 94 was just about on the grass, hopping the curb, and those little differences, sometimes you have to take those risks, even if it doesn't seem manageable. It's the difference between gaining just a few hundredths of a second that could take you from the top of the board all the way down to where Pressey is right now in 9th. Coming across the stripe, this time through at about 165 miles an hour. Pressey jumps up in a 4th, and that's going to be a big gain for him. Christina Ryan drops down into now the 4th position. Lily Pelletier is going to make him move up, and it looks like now up to 15th here. Top of the board now going to be controlled by Houston Stevenson. It's now going to be a new driver, the top 55.6. That's the fastest time, and the quick times are still coming through. This is the most frantic portion of the session.
Yeah, keeping our eyes peeled now for who's on the freshest rubber. Top 2 at the moment, both set their laps on the alternate tyres. But in 3rd place, we've actually got Craig Forsyth, who's on a set of the primary tyres. So maybe a bit of a strategy call from him. He wants to start on those black compound tyres. And in fact, is 3rd fastest. He's in front of not 1, not 2, not 3, but 6 softer compound runners. Maybe one to watch out for in this race. Craig Forsyth, 55.7 on a set of the primaries. What pace?
If he can keep himself up here, just behind the front row of course, that is a huge accomplishment if you can execute in the race strategy, because having those primaries with you and keeping the alternates in the back pocket, it's a big deal as the race goes on. No full course yellow, so keep that in mind. Local cautions only, so the more you have in terms of pace as the race goes on, the better you're going to perform, especially after our mandatory compound swap, which has to occur under green no matter what. As it stands with 15 seconds remaining, looks like nobody else has the pace to beat the 0-8 machine. That's going to be Houston Stevenson at the top of the board at the line this time through. We'll see if anything changes, but right now it looks like qualifying will conclude with the 0-8, the fastest driver on the chart. Front row has been set. Eli Sasek will be in second, but we have a chance now maybe to see some extra laps in. Keep in mind now iRacing gives us just a little more time. Lily Pelletier Sharp comes at the line slower. Doesn't look to be a serious run till the very end. Maybe now we'll see some upsets in the final minute of timing here, but I think majority of the series of runs have come and gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to highlight, first of all, Cade McKee jumping up to 6th place on the alternate tyres there. Will start on the 3rd row of the grid. But a story that we missed, it happened so early in practice. Sophie Connell, one of the potential pre-race favourites, showing a lot of pace in practice and in testing, had a major incident very early in qualifying, was forced to tow the car, and has not set a lap time. They will start from the back of the grid for this race and will have a lot of work to do to climb back through the field.
Such a large field of 28 drivers register. I really don't know what you can do from that point onward. Mo Perry's coming in the number 28 machine, and it looks like right now the sun is setting on our qualifying session, this time for good. At the top of the charts, it's going to be the 0-8 of Houston Stevenson, and clearly the quickest there, 55.6, grabs the pole by a 1/10 of a second, and just like that, we've got ourselves a complete starting grid. It's time to get to know those who are going to be on your front row, as well as the rest of the field. So how about we take a look at that grid moments before we get here into the racing. This is the Grand Prix of Seneca Lake, and this is Watkins Glen. Top of the board is going to be Houston Stevenson with a 55.614, and that's going to be the top time, just ahead of Eli Sasek there in second, and third place then is going to be held by Craig Forsyth in the number 27. And then it's going to be Christina Ryan, who won at Chicagoland, starting in the 4th spot with a 55.887. Quick time again for Ryan as she looks to go for a 2-race streak in winning to kick off 2024. Then from there, it's going to be position number 5, occupied by Lily Pelletier Sharp and Rudy Valentine, in only his 4th career start. Already a win under his belt. He'll make his way in and find himself 6th on the timing sheet, just behind the top 5. It's going to then be 7th in Cade McKee, and it's going to be 8th in Nicholas Pressey in the number 94 New Yorker, who starts in that 8th spot. To round out the top 10, it's going to be 9th place occupied by Callie Height, who had major damage to Chicagoland, hindering her chances at a win, and Lily Fraser to round out the top 10 with a 56.314 is the 10th position.
Lilac Zia starting in 11th position, just in front of the ever-fast Selena Thompson. Not an amazing qualifying session from her, but starting on the primary tyres, see if she can do something. Bruce Silver behind them, alongside Mo Perry, and following shortly behind them, Bryce Saucier with the fantastic pace on the ovals last week. Again, not a fantastic qualifying session for him, but starting on those primary compound tyres, some good strategy calls maybe to come his way. Carmen Sienna starts P16 alongside DJ Trout. Carmen was one of our biggest movers last week, so let's see if she can repeat that performance today and get inside the top 5. Tucker Salyer and Mark Parkhurst are starting 11th and 18th and 19th, both again on the primary compound tyre. Lots of the guys down here choosing that primary compound tyre. Alex Martin and Bobby Bowers are 20th and 21st. And they are followed shortly by Alex Miller and Brandon Cruz. On the back row of the grid, rounding us off for those who set times in qualifying, Ruby Estes and Joshua Garrison, 57.5 and a 59.5 for Joshua Garrison. And then your did not qualifiers, we have Sophie Connell lining up in P26, one of the faster drivers last week until she made a small mistake at effectively ending her brilliant run at Chicagoland. Chikuba lines up behind them, and then right at the back of the grid on a row, all on his own, is Zach McBride. Everyone in that bottom, most drivers in that bottom half of the field opt in for the primary compound tyres. Only Mo Perry and Bryce Saucier on the alternate compound. Watch out for those guys off the start of the race, because they're going to be able to make a really aggressive start here.
And a chance to see some strategy in the back of the field play through. Most drivers there are going to take the primaries, as you mentioned. Looks like a few of which, Mo Perry included, could do something different. Your front row, comprised of only alternates, Craig Forsyth might not get off the jump better than a lot of these drivers, but keep in mind he's got the primaries, which may last a bit longer and play into his favor in that pit stop cycle, which we are due to see. The pit window is going to be an estimate of 18 to 20 laps, so two-stop strategy no matter what. 45 laps, non-stop till the checkered flag, save for a major incident, which I don't think we're going to see anything unforeseen, but don't quote us on that one. It's going to be Forsyth in third right now with the primaries in a sea of red Firestone tires. And right now, it's time to find out who's got what it takes. Houston Stevenson at the top of the board, ready to get things going here in the Finger Lakes as they go under one more time. Left-hander, right-hander, and the Go Bowling Bridge. It'll be time to go racing for the first time in 2024 at a road course. The Champ Car World Series comes back to the Empire State, and it's the Grand Prix of Seneca Lake kicking off momentarily. iRacing official pace car comes in this time by Houston Stevenson is in control of the field, and it's going to be now time for the 0-8 to get going. Green flag flies in New York. Welcome to Watkins Glen. We're underway.
Oh, big trouble out of the bus stop already. It looks like it's Cutter Sawyer hopping over one of the curbs and collecting Lilac ear. Might have a little bit of damage. First instant, other than that, we stayed pretty clean for the start. And Cutter Sawyer spinning again, trying to limp that car back to pit lane with a broken rear wing. We had a couple of cars pit stop, but Cutter Sawyer will be the one falling to the back of the field early in this race.
And Sawyer with the early trouble there, as you just mentioned, coming right through the bus stop. That's where we expected chaos, and we got it. Sawyer's going to have to limp that car around, and very unfortunate on the first lap of this race, but push came to shove, and just like that, we've got trouble. Eli Sessick at the line is your new race leader, and it looks like that Ascent machine has taken it up to the top, and now leads the way by just under a half a second. Then going to be Houston Stevenson and Craig Forsyth, who did get the jump despite being on those primary tires. Even though we said there was a chance he may have dropped back in the early going, right now runs in the podium and seems to have the confidence to keep himself right up there. Christina Ryan's going to be fourth, Lily Pelletier Sharp is going to be fifth, and Cade McKee is in sixth, and that's how they roll. So far, so good up in front. We'll keep an eye on any closer battles as the race goes on further in the field, but your leaders get away quite well, and right now they're largely single file, a little bit more clustered in the middle of the pack. Looking at Carmen Sienna, who's made her way from 16th up into 14th, and as it stands, no major movers except for a few drivers dropping back.
Damage for Christina Ryan, just running into the back of, I assume, Craig Forsyth there. Wait, no, sorry, that was Lily Pelletier Sharp, just going a little bit deep on the brakes into turn one, right into the back of Christina. Ah, what a shame for them. A little bit of side-by-side action, though, coming here into the bus stop. Christina backs out.
And Callie Height got destroyed on that one. Line. Wow. And you saw it there on your screen if you were watching the ABN feed. Unfortunately, Callie Height destroyed again, and Misfortune finds a way to hit the 3-team for the second week in a row. Went flying right off Lily Pelletier Sharp, as we immediately mentioned, and Callie Height, no brakes for this team for the second week in a row. Looks like trouble finds its way to this number 3 operation, and we're going to take a look back momentarily here. Pelletier Sharp is still on the way, limping around the circuit as it stands. However, really not much else that can be done, and Pelletier Sharp gets knocked up the track, and even worse for the number 18.
A lot of rear wing damage there, falling off completely. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for her crew to put that rear wing back on. A little bit of chaos in the opening laps here, but most of the grid getting away quite cleanly. But what a shame for our guys who are now way down the order and potentially with race-ending damage in some of these cases, Liv.
Yeah, so if I can hop in here. So the incident in turn 1, Lily clipped the back of Christina Ryan. Christina seems to have gotten away with it. But then Pelletier Sharp coming up through the S's was a little bit slow, a little bit caught off guard. Callie Height tried to make a move into turn 3, and Lily just closed the door, causing race-ending damage to Callie Height. Mo Perry also had a big spin out of the bus stop, currently carried a meatball and a broken front wing. Currently our two only our meatballs of the session. Lilac Zib lost her front wing in that lap 1 incident and has had to pit to replace that, but is now back on the way. But yeah, very unfortunate for the number 3 crew, and a couple of very costly mistakes early for the 18 car.
Mo Perry's going to be down and in this time through, as we mentioned, meatball flags in the air. So some drivers already seeing too much damage on the car, which means they'll just have to send it into pit road and get fixed up once again. Eli Sasek at the top of the board and clearly the quickest driver so far. But you're looking now, Craig Forsyth has made the move for what is the 2nd position and might be able to have the claim of it at the end of the lap. Right now, Forsyth making 1 spot up as the race has gone on. Same goes for Eli Sasek, the only driver in primary compound so far at the front of the field, really showing these drivers that you can manage it and still keep the pace. A lot different from the idea that a lot of others are hoping to work with the alternates being first up front, and big movers are already coming into play. From 20th up to 11th, that's Alex Martin right now, running in the number 92. It's going to be, right now, a valiant charge up in the all-purple and black 92 machine to make it nearly inside the top 10 already. Race of attrition already going to come into play. And for some drivers who are already 10, 15, maybe 20 seconds away from your leader, there's a lot of opportunities to still make up positions, even if, technically speaking, in terms of time, you aren't too close to your drivers up ahead. So we're going to speak on that for a little bit more now, because every point matters and every position matters here in the championship standings, and it means a lot more now to gain spots as the race goes on, especially seeing some early chaos all throughout the field.
Yeah, keeping an eye on lap times of these guys now. We're starting to see the crossover start between the alternates and the primaries. Pace of those guys on the red tyres have really started to drop off. Craig Forsyth, a lot faster than everyone else right now. He was in an absolute prime position at the start of this race. On the primary tyres, full tank of fuel, he can drain that tank and he's going to get gifted free air the second Eli Sasek pits in front of him. And don't expect that to be too far away. You only have to go a minimum of 5 flying laps on these tyres before you can even think about changing them. And if I was Eli Sasek, I'm thinking, what's the earliest I can get off this rubber now? And it's got to be soon if he wants any chance of staying in this race.
Stasek might be feeling the pressure. A lot of other drivers might be contemplating the same thing. We were initially expecting that window to be in about 10 laps time, but that's subject to change here, especially given the fact there's a 75% fuel load. Doesn't mean you're going all the way, as opposed to if it was the default setting here. So for Eli Sasek, got to think about what's next. It's sooner than later, and we're already 8 laps in out of 45, so coming up already closer and closer to that quarter of the way marker here, and strategy is going to slowly but surely creep into the minds of these drivers. You have to make some decisions soon, given the circumstances. Some drivers running closer than others. We're seeing some fierce battles in the back half of the top 10. Drivers trying to decide what to get at when it comes to their overall track position, and the in-car adjustments are also going to make a change. We mentioned just a few minutes ago that air. That's going to be a huge deal for Forsyth as soon as Eli Sasek pits, but Carmen Siena's going to go very close to off the track, and a very nice save, as a matter of fact. Sienna keeps control, holds to the second groove, and only loses 1 spot for the time being. Carmen Sienna had the back tires both off the track and keeps composure. How about that save right there for the number 96? That could have been disaster. Instead, it's a minor slip up, and the race is still on as her team keeps on going. Wow, what a save.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic car control from 96 there. One other thing I'd like to point out, we got very interested about the P3 here. Christina Ryan cleared Houston Stevenson, who started falling down the order. Now Rudy Valentin on those primary tyres, they're really starting to fire up and make the pass into the bus stop, but crucially, both drivers have been using push-to-passes to get these moves done. Christina Ryan already using 3 of the 10 allotted, Rudy Valentin using 4. It's a good time to use them if you can get into clean air, but other drivers will have more available as the race goes on and into the dying laps, so they've got to hope they can make this advantage count with the track position now they have it.
Of all the drivers in this field, Rudy Valentin does have experience with this combination. However, unlike this event, he's had experience where there have been full course yellows. Just about a year and a half ago, Gavin Carr went to Watkins Glen with his exact same combination, the IR18 and Watkins Glen International. Big change, actually. It was with the boot layout, so it was extended. However, here at the Glen, Rudy Valentin also only had 10 instances of push to pass as the race went on and had to manage that alongside the fuel and tire load as the race progressed. At the line, Rudy didn't have any fuel and came home just outside the top 5. I finished like 200 feet in front of him. I remember that race in particular because the management of push to pass was so crucial to keeping up with the front of the field, even when the compounds were different. Hoping to run till the end on those alternates was the big goal for a lot of drivers in that event, myself included, and some minor in-car adjustments really helped as the race went on. We actually discussed it pre-race in regards to our notes package. The ARB is going to make a big difference as this goes on, and right now, while the 78 machine has clean air, you can begin to fiddle with those individual instruments that will give him that much more of an optimal lap time.
Very tight battle for the lead here, Taylor. You want to talk us through it?
Yeah, no, as I mentioned earlier, that crossover between the tyres is really starting to affect Eli now. He did have a couple of laps just after the crossover where he was actually significantly faster than Craig. But particularly in the last couple of laps, the pace has really dropped off. Craig nearly making a pass for the lead coming into the bus stop last time by, but finally got it done coming out of turn 1. All that extra relative grip he's got on those rear tyres now, just able to put the power down and get himself out the corner. I really wouldn't be surprised if we see Eli Sasek pit here. He's gone 10 laps on those alternate tyres, which is probably about double the distance he needed to go. But no, he's staying out. Wow, what a call from Eli here. I think if he can hold on to the Reds, he's got the pace to make something happen. But at the moment, the pace is very much in the favour of the primary compound tyre. Craig Forsyth the whole second a lap faster than Eli last time round.
We have seen a pit stop here from Houston Stevenson at the end of lap 9. Just so far, he is the only one to pull the trigger. Everyone else who has started on the alternate compound, who you would think would want to make the move to pit lane at this point, they're sticking to them. They're not giving up on the tyre just yet, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Houston has gone to the primary, and we'll probably try and run the race out with 2 18-lap stints there. We'll try a little bit of fuel saving, but should manage it just fine. But we'll have to see. Or did Stevenson get a speeding penalty actually? He's come back down pit road here. Has a meatball. Oh dear.
And huge damage there as we're looking at it right now.
Right, final corner. Eli Sasek just been turned. I think that was hometown hero Nick Pressy. Disaster coming through the final corner there. Just no speed on those Reds for Eli Sasek there. Checking up on corner exit to avoid hitting the wall, and I think it was Nick Pressy just not able to avoid. Straight into the attenuator for Eli Sasek, and I think that's going to be his race over.
I think it's the both of them that are caught up and done.
Wow. Yeah, I think Eli was trying it down to pit road, but missed the turn in. Was trying to check to see if he could make it in that time, and was slowed a bit too much on the exit, and Nick Pressy couldn't avoid. A disaster of a moment for Eli Sasek, who was leading this race early, but is now completely out of the car. That is the destroyed machine.
Now keep in mind, Pressy got away. That's Rudy Valentin destroyed as well. So the 78 machine caught the piece, not the 94. However, they were running second and third at a time, and they get obliterated at once. I mean, you saw it was a brutal hit there for Sasek, who pummels the pit barrier, and Rudy actually had to keep driving as we'll take it back to your live feed. But now on pit road as well, really not much else you can do here as we'll look at a cleaner shot of Rudy. Meatballs for both of them. Pressy gets away, but Rudy definitely does not. That's a huge hit. And Craig Forsyth's competition has all but taken itself out. He is 6.5 seconds ahead of Christina Ryan and now runs the track on his own. Nobody else beside this machine.
Yeah, that's really changed the composure of this race. Christina Ryan, who had a pretty slow start to this race, has now found herself back in the podium position with plenty of clean air out in front of her. She's really taking these alternate tyres a long way, though. 13 laps currently on tyres that are way past their best by now. Craig Forsyth in a commanding lead of this race, just eking out that gap with every single lap. 57.3 last time round for him, and he's still got plenty of life in these tyres, but do expect the pit window to be open for the primary compound tyres now, as Christina Ryan calls pit.
And calling for pits, it's also going to be Tugger Sawyer at the same time. We got drivers looking to go in very soon. There's Nicholas Pressey, and now going to be going down to the inside here through the S's. It's a close battle because Cade McKee is also right there. 3 drivers going for a podium finish tonight. They've all got a realistic chance, but someone's got to give through the back straightaway and into the bus stop. It looks like McKee does, and so does Christina Ryan. Nicholas Pressey now going to be running in the second position, getting away from near disaster with Rudy Mountain, but now running on his own, and Christina Ryan's tires are giving out soon. It's going to be a pit stop expected this time by Christina Ryan. Double signals again, gives to the inside of Cade McKee, and now it's going to be Christina Ryan dropping in, and it's going to be one of our front runners, luckily under her own control, making it down a pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we've seen from the alternate compound runners in this first stint is pushing the tyres further than they should go to try and avoid pitting into traffic. If you end up caught behind slower cars who started further back after you've made your first pit stop, you have to burn a lot of push to pass to get around them. I think the likes of Christina wanted to extend to pull that gap, but it might put them out of the fight versus Craig Forsyth, who was able to start on the primary, can run Lond without suffering tyre wear, and can come in late for those alternate compound tyres, I should say, and run them on low fuel, a lighter car, run much quicker, and run them only as many laps as absolutely necessary. So
I think those guys are banking on their pace coming towards the end of this race. If they can match on those black compound tyres, they're going to be able to bolt on a set of reds at the end, Olivia.
And still watching on with Craig Forsyth here, 7 seconds ahead of the next driver in Nicholas Pressey. And you're looking right now, Pressey is also on that, of course, primary set as well. The alternates now are going to not be seen in the first and second position. You'd have to go back then to Cade McKee in third. And it looks like even though there was that qualifying benefit, the drivers who held out on the primary set longer are now starting to reap the benefits. Looking now at Bruce Silva, going to be running in fourth from 13th on the grid. And how about Sophie Connell from 26th up into 5th? Biggest mover by a wide margin, and the number 69 machine nicely picking apart the field, looking for more and more spots as the race goes on, up to the top 5 from the very beginning. An especially impressive run, bit close there as we come right through the carousel, but either way, far and away the quickest driver, up from not having a qualifying time at all, one of only 2 drivers, or rather 3, not to have any, now holding up against the best of the field as another driver signals down and in this time by. You're looking now, it's going to be Zach McBride on the way in, Nicholas Pressey right there too. Pit road is busy, and a majority of the field is coming in this time by.
Yeah, this is the end of the fuel number full push. It was 17 to 20, especially with that pace lap burn off a little bit of fuel. Sophie Connell, Mark Parkhurst, Bruce Silva are the exceptions, extending it a little bit longer. Again, this is going to be a strategy to try and run less laps on the alternate compound at the end. Sophie has called their pit stop at the end of this lap, so they've taken it 1 lap longer. I think the other 2 drivers we expect to do the same. But yeah, this is going to pay dividends to them later in the race in that final stint, or maybe in this middle stint when they take the alternate compound tyre and see what they can get out of it.
And besides these 2 drivers we're watching right now, you said it here, most drivers have gone and stuck with the norm. Now Sophie Connell drops down to the inside line, bringing, in addition, Mark Parker. So it's going to be 2 drivers at once making the move in. Craig Forsyth is set to cycle back up to the race lead, and right behind Craig it's going to be Zach McBride, who runs 1 lap down in accordance to timing and scoring. And it's going to be once again Forsyth back in control. And we'll see who's next up in terms of the closest driver to our new net race leader. And it looks like it would be Bobby Blowers, who's on pit road, scored right behind Craig Forsyth. Nicholas Pressey on the track, though, would be your net second-place driver, and a total of about 11 seconds behind Craig Forsyth as it stands. So really not going to be close at all for the time being. Bruce Silva, Mark Parkhurst, who all came out recently, look to have also fallen behind Nicholas Pressey. So once again, Forsyth has that dominant control, and it's going to be Mark Parkhurst chasing once again Sophie Connell, who runs in position number 6.
Yeah, brilliant pit call from Nick Pressey there. Just from behind Christina Ryan, she took that earlier little pit stop, but unfortunately for her, she came out in a little bit of traffic. She's now down to 4 push-to-passes, which she was using to try and get past the traffic that she came out in. But it wasn't enough. Nick Pressey now 8 seconds behind our race leader. Everyone in the field on the same compounder tyre except for DJ Trout, Alex Martin, Ruby Estes, Josh Garrison, Brandon Cruz, Lily Fraser, and Zach McBride. Starting to see those strategies unfold a little bit here, though. Lilac Zia obviously had to take a little bit of an early stop for damage. She's due in any time now. I'm really excited to see how this race is going to unfold now. We've got 3 or 4 different strategies going on. Some really aggressive drivers and some really aggressive racing. I just hope we don't have another little wreck like we did in the last pit stop cycle.
Mark Parkhurst actually with damage and had to bring it down pit road. That could be day done for the number 43 crew. Just maybe getting caught out by cold tyres on the outlaps, and yeah, finding the wall. That right front is not attached.
And it's a heartbreaker there for Mark Parkhurst, who had speed up in front of the field and looks to now be dropping from what was potentially a top 5 run. And the 43 going to park it this time by. Suspension damage, we've seen quite a lot so far in this race. And already 20th on back, all going to be at least 1 lap down. You'll see a bit of a wing stuck in the middle of the bus stop there. Damage is prevalent for a lot of these drivers, and that might be the reason why. That's going to be Ruby Estes with trouble. Part of the wing lost through that bus stop, and now Ruby's going to have to potentially go down to pit road by force. Another driver is stalled, and it looks like another went down to pit road at once.
Yeah, that was Ruby Estes and Chi Kuba both having issues through the bus stop at the same time, both with meatballs, both potentially day done here. I think on these cold tires, maybe out of rhythm coming out of these pit stops, they are dropping like flies, and we are down to within maybe 17 cars on the lead lap from 28 starters.
And losing more and more of these drivers as it goes on. Troubles in the bus stop. Some drivers not being able to handle the tires. Keep that in mind. A lot of these drivers now getting to grips with the primary set, as we saw beforehand. Now Craig Forsyth gets on the way. Compound swap is mandatory. Some drivers choosing to take that compound swap opportunity here and now. Although I think it would be best to save it for later if you're coming from the primaries. However, for those who are coming on the alternate set, they'd have to make their way back onto the primaries and get to grips with the overall feeling of the long run tire. A few drivers facing the jitters there. Lily Pelletier Sharp gonna disconnect. Same went for Callie Height. So we do have multiple retirees and only 17 drivers reported on the lead lap, with the bus stop maybe one of the places where more and more we're seeing drivers start to lose that edge. And we mentioned before, that racing line, you have to be all in on the curves. You hesitate just a bit, you're gonna find yourself in harm's way. And I think there's an issue of confidence right now in regards to the newer compound tires. Some drivers who changed might not understand how the primary compound works in a longer run, and with less confidence, you don't drive as well, and it gives way to some mistakes such as what we've seen in the past few laps. I think we're starting to see a little bit more of that as the race goes on. We're now coming into our halfway portion of this event. So this time by lap 23 and a number 45, 23 laps to go. We've got halfway to go, indeed.
DJ Trout, the highest car up the field on that alternate compound of tyres. I've just been watching him following Carmen Sienna. Not been going for the overtake. He's just been using her draft a little bit to save a little bit of fuel. Despite all the data, I think he's going to try and extend this red stint here, as Tucker Salia is calling for the pits. He's currently running... Where is he? I can't find him. Maybe timing tower.
And Sire is going to be 19 coming in this time by.
2 laps down.
There he is. 18 laps on those primary compound tyres for him. Thank you very much there, folks. Dropping down the order again, button on a fresh set of rubber. Not been an ideal race for him so far. He's 9 positions before the pit stop off that top 10. But you know what? We've highlighted them before. I want to highlight them again. Sophie Connell, now in PA, up 18 positions off where they started. What an absolutely fantastic drive from them so far. Certainly going to be one to watch in the closing stages of this race because they've actually been one of the fastest drivers on track so far. Matching, if not beating, all 3 drivers in the top 3 at the moment. I'm looking for a good result from them.
So Connell has time when it comes to gaining some positions that are just ahead. You'll see Carmen Sienna, the number 96, Selena Thompson coming through, and Bruce Silva, all within the 10-second radius of Sophie Connell and company. DJ Trout would be in that radius too, but not necessarily as close, so keeping that in mind as the race progresses. Cade McKee right now runs in 4th. It's Christina Ryan that runs in 3rd, and right now Ryan's got a chance to maybe keep up with Nicholas Pressey, but Cade McKee is making big strides right now, and Christina Ryan. That time by, we're going to take a look at the gap to leader margin, but that's going to show you the story of the gap overall to Christina Ryan as well, because recently, looks like McKee has been able to pick up the pace a little more, 0.7 of a second away, and you can see on the bottom right of your screen, the gap to the leader is decreased, but the gap is slowly but surely closing to Christina Ryan by proxy, and that might be use of that faster, or rather, the push to pass, which gets you much quicker, course, for a temporary period of time. And Christina Ryan might have to take watch here. No fast repairs, you don't want an incident, but you definitely want to defend your position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Christina Ryan and Kate McKee have both already served their stint on the alternate compound tyre. Trade Forsyth and Nicholas Pressey will end the race on that tyre. I'm thinking the latter might be the preferable move. Again, if you can take the stop at the end, you can fill the car short, only take as much fuel as you need to get to the end of the race. The car will be lighter, you're putting less force through the tyres, and they will last a little bit longer in the race. Sophie Connell especially can take advantage of that, being a driver who extended another lap, maybe having to deal with that traffic coming through the field, used it to fuel save a little bit, extended one extra lap, that's one fewer lap on the alternates at the end of the race, maybe avoiding the fall off that we see from them as that left front really overheats with the high speeds and the high lateral force, especially through the carousel.
And 2 drivers going to be right through before the carousel. It was Selena Thompson and Carmen Sienna who went off the bus stop and somehow kept it together. They're still fighting for position here, but keep it in mind, they went mowing the lawn, shall we say, and almost lost it entirely as they're neck and neck even still. The battle persists. Looks like Thompson has the better of Carmen for the time being, but that was very close to disaster there for the 2 of them, almost catching in the midst of it Sophie Connell.
Yeah, I think a little bit of a mistake there from Selena. The gap it was a good couple of seconds between those 2 when I was watching it earlier, but that closed up dramatically in the last couple of laps there, leading them to be close enough together to nearly have a small incident, go mowing the lawn as you said it. But yeah, you know, 2 different tracks that we've raced on so far this season. It's been really interesting to see just how similar the style of racing has been as we watch a little bit of side-by-side action through the bus stop here. Nearly going wrong for both cars again as one goes off the track. Bit of a slide job back in front of the other. The racing here has been so aggressive, just like it was over at Chicagoland.
And it looks like right now, Carmen Sienna Landscaping in operation here in Schuyler County, very close to trouble twice over. Keep in mind, though, Sienna's been one of the best at keeping the car out of harm's way in risky scenarios. We've seen multiple very nice saves out of this 96 today. She's definitely got control of it, but it's very risky, these positions we've seen lap in, lap out. Sienna's back on the way and still running in 8th here, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time to regroup and make sure all is well before that final pit cycle. You really do not want to mess yourself up right before the final run where you have maybe the alternate compound in your back pocket once again. There we go. There's contact. Once more, there's damage. It's big for the both of them.
I think
maybe a little bit Necker assisted there, but yeah, they were driving a bit too aggressive there. They were both maybe costing themselves time, and it's ended in disaster. Selena lost the rear wing, Carmen lost the front wing, and there'll be early trips down pit road for both of them. They can make it to the end from here with this pit stop. We're just about in the fuel window, but they'll have to run a full stint as Selena Thompson with that rear wing damage spins again through turn 6. Yeah, just too aggressive at this phase of the race. It's asking for trouble in machines as as advanced and as fragile as these.
And how about that? I mean, that was a very aggressive driving from the both of them there. I think at some point you got to realize you got to regroup and put yourself back in order. It was impressive driving for the time being, but now you see the consequences of that aggression. Both of them are going to have to come down pit road, and it looks like Thompson honestly got the worst of it there. As you'll see, it's going to be the number 63 coming down to pit road this time through. Going to be followed shortly thereafter. You'll see it's going to be in addition to Joshua Garrison, Lily Fraser on pit road. Carmen Sienna right now still going to be on the way with that damage, trying to hold out in 8th right now. So I think Carmen should be able to keep on going, but I don't know how it's going to work out there for Thompson, who currently runs in position number 14. Risky racing, and now only 13 drivers remain on the lead lap. Goes to show it's been a race where you got to test yourself as every lap goes on. I mean, right now, if you're like Craig Forsyth, you really don't worry about anyone else behind you, but those battles for position, push comes to shove, we've seen dangerous results.
As we were talking there, DJ Trout pitting off those alternate compound tires. This is it. This is the pit window open. The final pit cycle starts now. Trout, we are expecting to go onto those primary compound tires, which he has. So straight shot to the end for him here. Plenty within the full push pit window. So now's the time for his driving to make a difference and see if he can gain some more spots.
And drop
Christina
it in
Ryan also
Christina
following.
Ryan.
Apologies. Yeah, so she obviously started on the alternate tyres and now going to a second set of primary tyres probably to end this race. The top two started on the primary, so they'll probably try and extend as much as they can and then go on to the alternate tyres. But for drivers that have already served an alternate stint, this is when you make the stop. This is when you go and you just try and get the car filled up and you push all the way to the checker and see who you can jump on the undercut.
Quick exit there, back on the way. Christina Ryan going to be cycling out approximately in 5th right now. We'll see at the timing and scoring line where this number 80 team will stand. She's going to be fighting side by side right now. Alex Miller, who scored previously in 10th, so this looks to be the battle inside the top 10 to stay within that category. As it stands, running very well so far for Alex Miller, getting out of the trouble from 22nd on up. He's had a very solid day and has gained quite a lot of spots to go with it there, so very serviceable run for this team, definitely gaining more and more. Sophie Connell this time by, jumps back up into 5th from 26th to 5th, the biggest mover by a wide margin. Don't think anyone's going to take that accolade away from Sophie as the race progresses. The big question, I think, comes down, if we're going to really talk up in front, Pressy and Cade McKee. I mean, Cade McKee, Nicholas Pressy, as it stands, very similar in terms of their performance. However, most recently, it's been Cade McKee slowly but surely making strides, and this could be the opportunity to really cut that window down and make it a closer fight for second. That time through was a 1/10 of a second advantage for Cade McKee compared to Nicholas Pressy, this time by 56.767 for Pressy, and it was a 6.55 for McKee. He's consistently quicker now, and if he gets back on the alternate compound and has enough to go for a shorter run, he definitely might be able to cut a second or two in there, and we could see a battle for second here. Now, we're coming close to the end. If push comes to shove, should we expect to see some aggressive racing, maybe shades of Carmen Sienna and Selena Thompson a few laps prior?
You know, circling back to the start of the pit cycle, I was a little bit surprised to see Christina pit so early. She was one of the first to pit on the last pit cycle, but as we saw, she lost out big time to Nick Pressy. And now with the pace of Nick and Cade, I feel like they're going to get jumped here because Nick Pressy's now got this, well, Cade even has got this little bit of bubble of clean air that he can drive into and slowly get on the back of Nick Pressy and then start getting dragged along. As I say that, Cade McKee pits. So let's keep an eye on these guys here because I'm really curious as to see where Cade comes out relative to Chrissy. Chrissy came out behind a little bit of out-of-cycle traffic, coming out behind Carmen Sienna, getting held up a little bit, but was it enough for her to lose P3? I think we're about to find out here, David.
And Kane McKee going to be on pit road alone right now. We got the timer in the bottom right of your screen. Looks to be a 7.4 second pit stop to get back on the way. Now we're going to find out where Cade cycles out. Christina Ryan going to be right ahead. And there you have it. That's the answer. It's going to be a margin of maybe a second and a half at most. Less than that. They're back on the way already, chasing each other as they go through the S's. McKee gets things going quick. And he's going to be having that slipstream all throughout this run down to the bus stop. McKee's going to take it up to the higher side. Who's going to give? It looks like right now nobody's backing out. They stay side by side. One driver spins ahead, and that was a dangerous scenario. They both get out of it unscathed, and that was Lily Fraser.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job for the both of them to see the danger ahead, abandon their battle, choose to stay in the race, and take evasive action there. Notably, both drivers were using push to pass on that run into the bus stop. Cade McKee now down to 5, but Christina Ryan down to just 2 usages left. There are more than 10 laps left in this race. She has to use them wisely here.
How about that? I mean, that could have gone horribly worse than what we saw. And these drivers who are fighting within the confines of the top 10 know how much it means to keep these points in reach. So for Christina Ryan to back off there, knowing the circumstances, and Cade McKee, who definitely had the speed also, getting through cleanly. It's a huge deal that speaks to the racecraft in situations such as that, to prioritize the safety of these drivers and their performances rather than over-aggression as the night goes on. Bruce Silva, matter of fact, is going to be your technical race leader. Net race leader would be Craig Forsyth as he now goes into pit road once again. And Forsyth, who's had all but full control since the drop of the green flag, save for Eli Sasek, has definitely shown why he's been there since the beginning. And you'll look at his wheels now, those tires, red. It's time to see what alternate tires can do for Craig Forsyth. He's back on the way. He cycles out ahead of Sophie Cottle and clearly ahead of Nicholas Pressey. I think we're about to see the fastest laps of the entire session dropped, and it's going to be our quickest driver who has the honor to lay them down.
He's already on the button here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this shakes out now. I think Craig Forsyth probably in the strongest position to win this race. He's the highest person on the alternate compound tyres at the moment, and he's the last one to pit onto them of the leaders. Nicholas Pressey is behind him, obviously pitted 1 lap earlier, did make up a little bit of time in the pit stops. But the one thing I'm going to be looking out for here now is the pace crossover. It's only going to be 4-5 laps away, and with that little bit of battling that we saw with Cade and Christina, there's going to be a chance that that fight actually slowed those guys down enough that they might not have a chance at the win here, because we're going to see Craig have that de facto rear gunner of Nicholas Pressey, who, assuming they don't start fighting here, the gap only 3/10 between the two of them, it's going to keep him safe maybe from a little bit of overhaul on strategy by Cade and Christina.
And right now, Cade McKee going to be ahead of Christina Ryan, even still. 9 laps to go this time by. So we're coming down to crunch time here, and I think we're going to see those final uses of push to pass come in very soon. The best place to go through it is after turn 1 up until the bus stop. And I think these drivers know that by now. When it comes down to it, Christina Ryan, we mentioned previously, already more than half of her push to passes used. Matter of fact, at the very most, only has 2 remaining. So to gain a second with 2 push-to-pass opportunities on the table, it's going to be a tight move to get things done. You saw Cade McKee very close to the wall there. Might have been a little bit of contact, but no major damage. Ryan is still chasing and at the line from Cade McKee's 56.679. Ryan was actually slower and not able to make up time that time through. It's still a 1-second gap, but Ryan's got to get back on the charge if there's any opportunity to maybe make up a spot.
Yeah, and here Nicholas Pressey is making a charge at our race to Craig Forsyth. Both drivers swapped onto the alternate compound of tyre. Pressey got them fired up a little bit earlier. They both have an abundance of push to pass, but Pressey has them fired up now, set a fast lap of a 56.1. Can Craig Forsyth respond here on this lap to keep that gap? He's going to catch a little bit of traffic here. It's going to slow him down just a little bit. But we'll see what he can do. The gap is now down below 2 seconds, and this could be an all-out shootout for our race win coming into the final 7 laps of competition.
And it looks like we've got some New York blood on the top two. Nicholas Pressey, who comes from the Empire State, finds himself now within 2 seconds of the race win. And this is when it gets intense. You know, of all the tracks in this schedule, of all the races this season, and Pressey knows he's been quick previously in Champ Car competition, this would be perhaps the most important race of the year for him to win. Here, of course, in front of the virtual home crowd. And you'll see how hard he's pushing this number 94 right on board right now with Nicholas Pressey. We'll take you right there with the driver currently running in second place. We're going to take away our top ticker and show you all the access here, and you're going to see how close it gets. Absolutely, it's precision and absolute concentration that gives way to a battle like this. We didn't think that Nicholas Pressey would have any chance to get close once again, but now on those alternate tires once more, barreling through nearly up to 6th gear again. He's got to give it all he has, and even though the gap slightly widened that time through, if there's anything more, Pressey's going to have to give it here as the fight progresses.
Yeah, I think Nicholas Pressey pushing a little bit too hard at the start of the stint there. It's allowed Craig, who I think has been saving his tyres a little bit more at the start of the stint, just to eke out that gap a touch more. Nick Pressey now going to be a little bit vulnerable to the cars behind him. The gap has dropped down to 3 seconds. So we're going to be watching that closely as we come around to the final 5 laps to go. Craig Forsyth in an absolutely commanding position here, getting into the perfect position off the start, just letting himself drop back and not get involved in fighting too hard. An absolutely flawless middle stint, and calling the pit stop exactly. He's going to have that 1 extra lap of tyre life in him, and also a little bit more considering how much more he's looking after these tyres than everyone else behind him. Because we've got Cade McKee, Christina Ryan, both on that harder compound tyre, who are going to be absolutely digging, pushing for these final 4 laps. But Craig has now got this little bit of a buffer where he can just chill, breathe, keep those tyres well within their slip angle, and hopefully bring home a win for himself and his team.
And you speak of Christina Ryan here, where there's a battle involving Ryan and Bruce Silva. They're going to go side by side for the first time. Silva going to be going down to the bottom side of the bus stop here. Clear advantage over Ryan with those, of course, primary tires. The alternative compound is going to give way to an advantage for Bruce Silva for now. 5 laps to go this time by, coming down to only 4, and we'll see whether or not Silva has enough in store to make this compound work for 4 complete laps. We mentioned the wear on these alternate compounds gives way to a little more degradation in a quicker time frame, so this could be a short-term gain, long-term loss. However, Ryan going to be confident to track down the number 36 no matter what. She's got her sights set on that 4th position. It's going to be taken away for now, but I'm sure that Christina will not give up until the checkered flag falls here.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you've got to be careful. We've seen it from Nicholas Pressey. If you push these tyres too much, even on low fuel, they will burn up and they'll start to fall off. Brew used to push past to make that move happen. Christina is now responding. They're both on the button coming to the bus stop here. Brew has 2 left, Christina has 1. Everyone's starting to get to their final usages of it, but as those red tyres start to die off, as they start to overheat through the carousel, Christina is looking to make a charge back. She's still in slipstream range, and Brew, instead of looking ahead at Cade McKee, might have to keep looking behind and see if she can hold on to P4 here. They come through the final corner, the gap still within a second, and I think we're going to see them use the button again coming out of turn 1 here as we come to 3 laps to go in this event.
And still going to be very close here as a fight for the podium persists. Looks like Nicholas Pressey is even out at about 2.5 seconds. Not much else going on with this battle in particular. 13 drivers remain on the lead lap. Another battle right now is going to be that of the 7th position. Alex Martin going to be chasing down Bobby Blowers, and it looks like they were closer previously, but DJ Trout is going to be on the tail end of Alex Martin right now. The 92 and 93 respectively in terms of numbers are running 8th and 9th. Right now it's going to be Alex Martin with the advantage in position. However, that could change as they're getting closer once again. And when it comes down to the push to pass numbers, how do we get a read on what's going on with these two, given how close we are to the end?
DJ Trout has only got passes, David, and he's definitely in the weaker position here.
If I can jump in here, Alex Miller still has 10 left. It seems like he might not have the button bound, in fact. Sometimes dealers might... not have the experience in this car to know you need to have that set up. So DJ Trout not able to defend, but Alex Miller not able to attack here. In the lead battle, coming to 2 laps to go, Craig Forsyth has 2 left, Nicholas Pressey has 3, as we're coming towards the white flag, a lap and a half left in it. They both have tools to use, but it looks like the gap being 3 seconds. Craig Forsyth might be able to hold on to this one, as Christina Ryan looking to attack Bruce Silver yet again.
And this could be the final charge here, coming down to the white flag, this time by for Craig Forsyth. The battle persists here between Christina Ryan and Bruce Silva. These two drivers have been on each other for the past 5 laps in a succession. Silva's in the wall that time through, and with the white flag waving in the air, this is perhaps the final chance. Looking down to the bottom, Christina Ryan gonna look, fake it, get back in order. This is what it all comes down to, and as soon as we find out how they go through the bus stop, we'll be watching your race leader, Craig Forsyth, as he sets his sights on wrapping up the race win here in Watkins Glen. Up to the top side, it's going to be Christina Ryan looking for a move. There's a lap machine right ahead. That could be the buffer necessary to make the pass happen. But Ryan's going to stay high, has to stay very close to the curb, and Bruce Silva uses all the room there is to maintain the spot. For Craig Forsyth, though, only 2 turns remain, and he's going to be coming through and under the Gold Bowling Bridge one final time. Dominance from the very beginning, the perfect strategy to set the stage for a win at Watkins Glen, and the historic circuit in New York is conquered by Craig Forsyth, getting it done by more than 3 seconds over Nicholas Pressey. At the line, it's a photo finish again, but it looks like this time it goes to Bruce Silva for 4th. 12 thousandths of a second. This time, it looks like Christina's on the losing end of the photo finish.
Absolutely fantastic battle throughout that final lap. Christina came for another attack coming into turn 6 there. And couldn't quite get it. Brew held the outside, but then out the final corner, a bit of a funnel. Carmen Sienna maybe checking up both cars. I think they both tabbed the wall and just a lunge, see if we could get the run to the line. Bruce Silva holding off P4, but another top 5 Christina Ryan should hold her in the championship lead here ahead of Nicholas Pressey.
And certainly what Christina Ryan needs to stay consistent in the title battle. For Craig Forsyth, he burst onto the scene with the checkered flag today in Watkins Glen. And he showed from the very start he was the driver to keep an eye on for that win. As soon as Eli Sasek got involved with Rudy Valentin, I don't think anyone else had a chance. And tonight, Craig Forsyth gets it done and is set to burn down the house in Watkins Glen International. Craig Forsyth's celebration may be brief, but the checkered flag is his as tonight's event concludes. The race is over, but before we get to your top 3 interviews, how's about we get to know your race results from top to bottom? Let's go right through it. To end off the night, Craig Forsyth will get it done, winning from the 3rd position in the qualifying grid. Nicholas Pressey, a New York native, comes home in 2nd, starting in 8th. It's going to be Cade McKee who rounds out the podium, with Bruce Silva then in 4th, and Christina Ryan rounding out the top 5. That photo finish sees Ryan still within the top 5 positions. Going to be Sophie Connell, the biggest mover, from a 26th up to 6th. Bobby Blower's then going to be in 7th, and Alex Martin 8th, with DJ Trout 9th, and Alex Miller to round out the top 10.
Yeah, then Lilac Zir recovering well from that very early incident on lap 1 to finish P11, right back where she started. Bryce Socia, final car on the lead lap, finishing P12. Then it's Carmen Sienna, Brandon Cruz, Lily Fraser, and Tucker Sawyer. I think the final 4 finishers of this race. We had 12 retirements by my count. Zach McBride, Selena Thompson, Joshua Garrison, Ruby Estes, Mark Parkhurst, Chi Kuba, Rudy Valentin, Mo Perry, Eli Sassett, Houston Stevenson, Lily Pelletier-Sharp, and Callie Height, all being bitten by either the track or the competition and failing to take the checkered flag here at Watkins Glen.
I told you there was someone to keep an eye on, though. Sophie Connell, P6. 20 places made up during today's race. 20 places. The most positions we had made up last week, 15. Christina Ryan, and she won the race. So that just tells you the level of competition that we've got here when you can make up 20 places from your starting position and still not win the race.
And how about it for Sophie Connell? Fantastic run there, but till the end, we saw dominance from your podium. We're going to get your top 3 interviews in reverse order, so stay tuned for winner Craig Forsyth's thoughts. First driver we'll be hearing from, we'll hopefully get them in soon. Looks like Hayden McKee not ready, as a matter of fact, so we'll go instead and get your top driver on the board in first and foremost. It's Craig Forsyth, and tonight he held control until the very end. But it started with qualifying. I think that's where things really kicked off. So how about we get a word from the driver who pulls it all together? It's Craig Forsyth, and let's get him in the ABN broadcasting booth. For Craig Forsyth, the checkered flag was taken tonight in Watkins Glen, and we're going to get his thoughts right now from qualifying on the primary compound to make sure he had the advantage for the rest of the race. Things just seemed to fall in place for this number 27 team tonight, and the checkered flag is yours here in Watkins Glen. Looks like nobody could stop you as soon as you took that race lead.
Oh, I knew I did not want to be on the Reds to start the race. They were going to fall off, and I planned on just sitting behind those two, the two guys up front, Eli and Houston there, just following them until the tires fell off. But they made a couple mistakes, and I was able to get passes, and they backed out of it because I think they realized their tires were falling off at the time. So then I knew once they were behind me, I needed to break the draft from them so that they couldn't follow me anymore. But then I think they got together coming out of the final corner, I think, because I saw smoke, and all of a sudden they disappeared off. So then I had a good gap at that point, so I tried to stretch it out so that I could get an extra lap, because I did not want to do any more laps than I needed to on those Reds. Once they fell off, they were just garbage.
Tonight, those primaries early really made all the difference. But you know what else did? I think that clean air must have definitely helped you. Quickly getting by Eli Sasek there and making quick use of that pass didn't get you in the complications of some other battles we saw. Unfortunately, for Sasek, it just didn't work out. Overall, the quick times from qualifying throughout the race, that consistent pace really helped you out there. Even though there was a charge at the end, looks like nobody could get close to matching the same times over the long term.
No, I mean the 40 racewear crew. We had good pit stops, that we were fast in that, and I just knew I had to pay attention and not let and not let Nicholas get into my draft. And he was pushing at the end there. I was getting more and more nervous as every lap was coming by. But I'd been saving my push to passes, so I knew that the best chance to pass was coming up to the bus stop. So as long as I had the push to pass advantage on him, I figured I was pretty safe to not have him get by me. But then he started to fall back, and it all worked out for us in the end. It was a lot better result than we were expecting, and we are very happy to have come away with the win here tonight. Yeah, as you say, it's very, if you're in the middle of the pack, this is a track where the cars around you are the most dangerous obstacle, unless you're out in the clean air, and then the track itself is the most difficult obstacle.
And a great way to burst on the scene here in 2024 in Champ Car competition. Tell you this much, up next we got a great schedule with variety all throughout. From here on out though, it's going to be Texas Motor Speedway up next, and we've seen these Champ Cars take the track, of course, in real sense with the IR18s before, but it's going to be different here. Of course, iRacing, Texas might not be the most popular track, but it's anyone's game in terms of the speed. It's a quick 1.5 mile circuit. I think the slipstream will be as important, probably more so at Texas than it was tonight. You think you're confident about maybe going back for another strong result there?
I like Texas. I like the packy, the pack type oval races. So a track like Texas does well for me. It's the more technical short ovals I'm not as good on. So I will be happy at Texas. That's for sure.
For Craig Forsyth tonight, the technicality of a road course is no match for the number 27 team. It's a win here at the Glen, and dominance with 32 laps led out of 45. Anyone else you'd like to thank after tonight's event?
No, I got to think. As I said, Jim over at 40 Racewear, and the boys at 510 Esports, and David, at you. Thanks for broadcasting this. And no, I'm happy to make the debut. I only just joined the league because I ended up having Wednesdays free, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of months. That's for sure.
And looking forward to what's next for this team as well. Craig Forsyth and 40 Racewear. They make the jump, and there's a lot more to come from this crew. Victory Lane at the Glen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Craig Forsyth on the move. It looks like we will not be getting a word from our third place driver tonight. Unfortunately, Cade McKee not going to be with us. However, as we're coming through, it's going to be our second place driver, Nicholas Pressey. Olivia Hayward standing by with our runner-up finisher.
Hello, Nicholas. This is Olivia from the ABN booth. You got me?
I got you, Hayward. How you doing?
I'm good. Probably not as good as you're doing right now. Started 8th position on those primary compound tires. Went for the strategy call, and it seemed to pay off tonight. Maybe not the win you were hoping for on home soil, but a podium finish, a P2, very strong. Talk us through it. How did you make that one happen?
Well, I got bullied on the start pretty bad, which is something that's become a bit of a trend on road courses for me. When it comes to rolling starts, I just can't get off nearly as well as they do a standing start. So, and when that happened, I thought, oh man, I'm gonna end up spend the whole race fighting for 10th. No, just circumstances went our way. A couple of admittedly low percentage moves went our way. Sorry to Selena. And Christina maybe. The pit strategy was pretty simple for us. Just push the blacks as long as we could, both sets, for 2 stints, and switch to reds. That was teammate Bryce was on the opposite strat. He himself had a good day after starting from the pits, out of our advisory to him to do so. He had a great finish today. I'd like to thank him for having such a good run today. As for second stint, it was good. I just made a few too many mistakes on the second stint to really have the best shot I could at the third one. But I have loved this track for so many years. After so many years of playing hard to get, I'm starting to think it likes me back.
Yeah, I think so. You've done a wonderful job here. Time and time out, it was a very strong result, second place. Talk us through that final stint, though. You were giving it absolutely everything on the red tires, on the push to pass, trying to close that gap to trade Forsyth. How much focus does it take to hit those marks perfectly every single time through the bus stop, through the final 2 corners, to hone in and try and close down that gap for the lead?
The first lap definitely took a lot of focus because I spent so little time practicing on the reds. The amount of grip I had going into the bus stop, I almost just sent it into the wall. Cars slid around a lot in the on the exit of 1 throughout the whole race, and as well as in the middle part of the bus stop. When the red tires, they just have so much grip. I said, okay, I got a shot. I gotta get to Craig while they're fresh, and unfortunately, I couldn't do that. So I had to switch to game mode to keeping second. I got second, and I get to keep it this time.
Absolutely. Well, I know you've already given a shout out to your teammate Bryce at NPEM. Is there anyone else you would like to thank for this performance? A fantastic P2 finish in your hometown in the Finger Lakes. Congratulations, Nicholas.
Right. Hometown racing, coming from New York City, it's always a wonderful. This is a wonderful track, and I'd like to thank the people that made and put in iRacing. I'd like to thank the organizers here for ABN for allowing me to put on the show I did today. I'd like to thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast. Drip Design Collectibles. They're going to be having a website up soon. Their sponsorship of me has been game-changing this year. I'd like to thank my friends that love to watch these races as well. And it's been a wonderful. It's great. All right, I gotta go, guys. I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And hearing from our top 2 drivers tonight, that was Nicholas Press, who came home in second. Unfortunately, once again, it looks like Cade McKee will not be available for comments. However, fantastic performance put together from 7th up to 3rd for Cade, pulling through with his first podium of the season. To wrap off this event, though, Watkins Glen is giving away to some exciting racing all throughout the night. So if we have any final thoughts here for the both of you, let us know. I'll tell you this much. I think this is one of the best races on the calendar year after year, no matter what series heads to the Glen. And fantastic to get the road courses started with a very calm race for the leaders up in front. Some attrition and fierce battles all throughout, but the strategy really played the most important part. I think that's the great aspect here, though. Glen, any driver can be quick, but it takes a different type of driver to be the best of the best for 45 green flag laps.
Absolutely. I think the strategy was incredible to watch here. We knew it would be a factor coming in, and we knew qualifying would be important and the choices everyone made, but seeing the race so dynamic, not really knowing where the cards lie until after that final set of stops, everyone has what they have, and they just have to go all out from that point on to see what spots they can make up. Made some fantastic battles, both for the lead and further down the field. That's why I love road course racing in this car. There's so much to watch with the tire compounds, the push to passes, the slipstream, getting out of traffic. It's a wonderful thing to watch. We have 2 more of these coming up this season at a very tight track, Charlotte Roval and Long Beach later in the season.
Yeah, what a fantastic strategy race we got given today here, folks. Just with the nature of the circuit, burning off that front left tyre, it was always going to cause a load of drop-off on those reds, and that's what I was most looking forward to. Watching whoever was in that highest qualifying position on the primary tyre compound, watching their pace increase so much compared to the guys on the softer tyres. And that did happen. My pick won the race. I'm happy about that, and I'm so happy for him that it worked out for Craig. But Cade and Nick also making absolutely fantastic strategy calls throughout the race. Nick jumping Christina early on just to give himself a bit of cleaner air for that middle stint, able to help him maintain that position and close the gap a little bit to Craig. Sadly, not quite enough to overhaul for the win, but still enough to hang on that second place. Cade as well, got to give him some credit where it's due. Cade McKee ran 17 laps on the alternate compound tyre. Considering we thought they couldn't go much further than 5 or 6 and you were pretty much hanging on to them to make them 9, that's some really, really impressive driving from Cade. Bravery, control, and staying out of trouble were absolutely key here today. And as we saw, Craig absolutely nailed that start to finish. No early fights at the start of the race, just taking advantage of the tyre advantage when he had it, and absolutely cruising to victory here this afternoon.
And a cruise to victory for Craig Forsyth in the first road course of the season. But stay tuned. Up next on the schedule, we'll have ourselves back in 2 Wednesdays' time. It's going to be the Texas Motor Speedway race number 3 in the schedule. Matter of fact, we've got a lot of action from that point onward. The year's only just begun, so be sure to leave a follow on the ABN Esports official Twitch. We'd love to have you join us on the road to 1,000 Twitch followers, and if you can, be sure to leave a subscription. That would help us even further in going the distance. Thank you all for watching tonight, as it's been all throughout the year to this point. I've been David Kreutz, alongside Olivia Hayward and Taylor Mills, your commentary trio for tonight's broadcast. Once again, this was the Seneca Lake Grand Prix from the Watkins Glen International Circuit in Schuyler County, New York, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation exclusively on ABN. Thank you all for your immense support of ABN Esports, and we hope to have you all whenever we're live once more on ABN. Thank you all for your viewership and your support, and we cannot wait till the next event.
Thank you.